Now we go to 35, which, as I see it, further emphasizes that the point of if reproduction is the center of the story, that changing the last stage of reproduction in a lab population is the leverage.
Yes. Experimentally, we can make populations in my lab evolve very different points at which aging stops by changing the last age of reproduction in one of those populations. So in the 1990s, with Larry Mueller, we sort of realized the evolutionary potential for having a post-aging phase. And a very strong, in fact, numerically demonstrable corollary or consequence of that theoretical insight was that we could in fact change the point in time at which aging stops by changing the age at which our population last reproduces and sustaining that change over a number of generations. This was comparable to the insight I'd had about 20 years earlier with respect to changing the first stage of reproduction, changing the rate of aging. 20 years later, I was thinking, aha, if we change the last age of reproduction, we should be able to change the timing of the cessation of aging. And so we checked our populations in which they did have different last ages of reproduction, and we found that, lo and behold, that was true. Then in the second phase of this research, we tried doing this over just a short period of experimental evolution, and we found we got extremely rapid changes in the age at which the phase of aging stops and the phase of a late life or stable mortality pattern starts. This was amazing to me. It was like completely startling result how quickly you can change using evolutionary tools the age at which aging stops, and that I think is full of exciting consequences which will be developed later in the 55.
Absolutely. So again, just to be the the disciple at the feet here, struggling, I'm beginning to see. I'm beginning to see here that. So you make it very clear how complex our physiology, the age, the forces of natural selection on us, and so on, and how a silver bullet or a single pill or couldn't possibly work. Yet by harnessing the forces of natural selection themselves in a very specific way, you can get a huge result by doing something that is at least straightforward, if not simple.
Yeah.
So it's possible to do something major, but you have to harness the tools of natural selection herself. Am I getting you right?
She's the boss.
She's the boss. You have to work with her to get it, right?
She's the boss.
She always is, Michael. Could you just go, because I think this idea of working with nature as opposed to trying to work around her or dominate her is an understory of everything you've been talking about.
I mean, I don't wish to be overly melodramatic, okay? But hell, let's be overly melodramatic. You could say that the medical tradition is the Victor Frankenstein tradition.
Yeah.
It's the tradition of mutilated bodies, of crude surgery, of ham-handed, if not ham-fisted, intervention. And the alternative tradition that I come from here basically is the animal and plant breeding tradition, where you are trying to carefully sculpt your organism. You're trying to create the most beautiful flower. You're trying to create the fastest horse. You're trying to create the best canine companion for a human. And you use the tools of breeding, the reshaping of the complex networks of life, as opposed to hacking them apart and hacking about with them.
Yeah.